Hello there, welcome back to the Heinz Brothers Mechanical YouTube channel. I'm Trevor and this is Adrian Heinz. He's going to be sharing with me some great information on radiant heaters and forced air heaters for your shop or garage. We always start off our videos with a quote, and this is from Winston Churchill. It says, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." So a quick stat for you guys. According to contemporary projections, the number of sold HVAC units in 2024 will surpass 151 million units. And hopefully you get to do some of those.
Yeah, just a few.
Hopefully, maybe not 151 million, but maybe a million or so would be good. All right. So talking about radiant heaters, now is the time of year for radiant heaters and shop heaters. So, how are things going? Like, what has your experience been with installing these over the years?
So over the years, we've been working with clients to kind of zero in on what their needs are when it comes to heating their shops or their garages and things like that, right? And basically each space will require a different type of heating system. With the radiant heating, it tends to be more efficient, a little bit higher, a little bit more expensive when you're initially putting the equipment in. But its operating costs are a little bit less, and you get a great feeling when you're working in a radiant heated shop. When it comes to forced air, you're looking at lower costs up front, but you're also, you have that forced air, it's blowing dust around. But they do work better in like lower ceiling situations.
Right. Okay, well, we're going to get into all of these things and more today. Question number one that we've got here is, are radiant shop heaters more efficient than the forced air?
Yeah, so they're like, there's been some studies up to 23%, I've heard up to even 30% more efficient. So this is all due to the fact that with infrared heating, radiant heating, it's basically warming up the objects in the shop.
Okay.
So if it's directed, it's at the top of the building, it comes down on a triangular shape. Anything in direct line of that radiant heat is being heated. So your concrete floors, your walls, your tools, your workbenches, whatever it is they're all being heated by the radiant heat.
Right.
And so these store energy a lot better than air. So forced air systems, actually, they heat up the air around you, so it might heat it up quickly, but it loses that heat quickly as well. Right,
and that's not always a good thing, not preferable, especially in our cold winters or if you have a large shop. Hey Adrian, how do you choose between what's best for your shop, radiant or forced air?
So some of the different factors to consider when choosing between radiant and forced air. Is there enough ceiling height to actually put in a radiant heater?
Right.
Are there a lot of obstacles in the building? Because with radiant heating, you do need a direct line of heat to the area, right? Okay. So other things are, are there fans to blow around the heat to circulate the heating in the space, right? Okay. So if there are no fans and you've got a lot of obstacles, you might want to consider forced air, because what that's going to do is give you a bit better even distribution of heat throughout the shop. Okay. If you've got a wide open area and high ceilings, the radiant heat is a great option. It is more efficient, but it does need that direct line of heat. Right. So the other thing to consider too is with forced air heating, it'll heat up a little bit quicker. So if you've got a space where the doors are open and closed nonstop, you want to look into possibly putting in an air curtain to keep your heat in, as well as you might want to consider forced air or a combination of the two, so you can get that air temperature up quicker.
Right. Okay. A lot of things to consider when you're dealing with heating up a shop or garage or something with a large door, especially in the winter time. Now, does ceiling height affect the performance of shop or garage heaters?
It does. With forced air, we can't hang them too high up, because what will happen is the heat will come down, and before it hits the floor, it'll kind of go back up again, right? Okay. So we want to really consider those ceiling heights. Probably the lowest ceiling height would be ideal for a radiant heater. You can get some small garage ones for about 12-foot ceilings. So Typically, we're doing anything lower than 12 feet or 10 at the very lowest. We'd be doing more forced air.
Gotcha.
Or we could do like a radiant wall mount heater as well, right? So we'll come into your home, do an assessment, and kind of figure out what your needs are, and figure that out, or your shop, or wherever you are.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different options, and really without seeing it, you can't give a blank, statement, oh, this will work best for you, because you really have to know what the uses are and how it's kind of laid out, right?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. Now, what are the benefits of forced air heating?
So forced air heating benefits lower cost for installation up front. They heat the air up faster. So, like I said, if the door's opening and closing quite often in the winter, it'll heat that space up quicker for you.
Okay. Now, what about radiant heat? What are the advantages of radiant heat?
Radiant heat's more efficient. So it's actually going to heat the objects in the space. Those objects retain heat a lot better than air. Right?
Okay.
So that's one of the biggest factors.
Okay.
Forced air heating tends to dry the air out more, whereas radiant heating doesn't. High dust situations are good for radiant heating as well.
Okay.
It's not blowing around that dust, and it's not getting dust into the burners.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of good advantages for radiant heat. All right, Adrian, how do the heat recovery rates compare between radiant and forced air shop heaters?
So the nature of radiant heating, because it's heating up those objects, they're heating up a little bit slower. It takes time to get that air warm again, right? So the performance may seem like it's not as good.
Okay.
So that's why it's important to have a look at the situation, in big shops and machine shops and that. People really enjoy the radiant heat because they come in there, their tools are warm, their
Right.
workbench is warm, their equipment, everything's warm, retains that heat. If you've got bay doors that are flying open, you will feel that chill a little bit longer with radiant heating.
Right.
Forced air will get you warmed up quicker. It's just a different type of heat though.
Right, a different heat. So all depends on if you have those large bay doors, that probably would kind of maybe open up an opportunity for maybe a different secondary heating type in order to, make that go away faster. Now, how can Heinz Brothers Mechanical help someone decide on which shop heater is right for them?
So basically we'll do an in-home or at your work assessment to basically have a look at the situation, go over all the dimensions of the building and what you're using it for. We have to be careful if there's a lot of obstacles in that, we have to maintain proper clearances for all the different types of heaters.
Sure.
So there's a lot to consider when coming up. So we can give you some options and help you decide on what's best for you for the heating.
Perfect. Now, what's the best way to heat a dusty shop environment, such as a woodworking shop?
So you can heat with both radiant heating or with forced air. We have separate combustion units, so we actually need to get heaters that draw in air from the outside for combustion, and they have a sealed compartment for the combustion, so they're not getting dust in. It becomes quite dangerous if you're getting a lot of wood dust or any dust actually inside your burners.
Okay, so it could cause a fire or explosion or something of that nature. Okay, so consider that if you have do a lot of woodworking, even if it's out on your farm and you do a lot of woodworking out in your shop, might be a good idea to consider talking to one of these guys to get the right unit for you out there. Now, how do shop heaters affect air quality?
So I'd say forced air probably affect the air quality the most, in that if it is a bit of a dusty area, it's going to blow that dust around. Heating up that air tends to dry the air out as well. So you got that forced air, it's drying the air out, pushing the dust around. With radiant heat, it's a little gentler. It's not forcing air around the shop, and it's not drying the air out as much.
Yeah, and with the forced air shop heaters, it's not like a furnace in your house where there's a filter on it and you can add humidification and all that. They're basically just heating up some elements and then they're just blowing the air past them.
Yeah,
right?
circulating the existing air in the shop and heating that, right?
Yeah. So is there any way to add filtration to a shop heater? I'm ignorant of this, so maybe you can educate me. What would you do if somebody wanted filtration?
There are different situations. Like we had a kennel we were working on recently, and we actually put in a like a furnace
Okay.
in their kennel. We put in a 5-inch filter. We got some fresh air coming from outside. So we basically treated that situation almost like it was a home, and we had a radiant tube heater as a backup.
Okay.
So there are situations we can put duct heaters in with filters, and like I said, well, if we come in and do that assessment for you, we can definitely take a look at each and every one of your needs and make sure we meet them in some fashion.
Cool. I like that. Now, how does someone get a shop heater without an ugly pipe sticking 3 inches off the side of your shop?
So we have a couple of different options. A lot of people ask me, like, is there any way we can avoid having this pipe sticking out of the side of my house? I don't like the way that looks. It doesn't look that bad. It's just all a matter of opinion, right?
Yeah.
But there are a couple different options. In certain situations, we can go through the roof. We prefer not to go through the roof when possible. We don't like to disturb a perfectly sealed roof and put a hole in it if possible, right? But it is an option. Other ways we can do direct vent. Basically, it's a single outlet coming out your garage. It might stick out 6 inches or out your side wall, and it's a little bit easier to look at, and it's not hanging out inside 3 feet, right?
Gotcha. Okay, so there's some options for that, but the best thing to do is to talk to the professionals. Give Adrian a call at Heinz Brothers Mechanical, and you can also reach out on the website. Just go to heinzmechanical.com and fill out the form, and they'll be happy to help you guys out. So that's all from me, unless you had anything else to add.
I'm good, thanks.
All right,
Talk
awesome.
to you soon.
Bye-bye.